then you go in UI and MF again, and make sure it's like square shaped, but maybe I'm wrong. So for me it's easier to just use a plane in this case. And I want my office to be 5 meters in this direction, 8 and then 5 in this direction. And for testing I just use 80 and 50 units. So this means any square has a shape of 10 centimeters in this case. I could also look that up by converting it, clicking on the polygon, and just looking here, it's 10 by 10 units. This is obviously not what I wanted, so I just go Ctrl Z or Command Z to redo this, and I will again use 8 by 5 meters and go 80 by 50. And now to make those little squares 5 times bigger, I just divide it by 5 and by 5. So this is supposed to be like the main grid for all I do to create the office. So if we wanted to, we could keep this and call it original. And I would like to disable the original and use the other piece here. I convert it using C on my keyboard, and now I just select all the polygons we have. So the next thing I do is I duplicate this and call the geometry I had before to floor, because it's pretty much gonna stay like that. And the new file will be created for the ceiling, so it's maybe 2 meters 80 high, or maybe a bit lower, 240 will do. And now I have two kinds of pieces. I have the ceiling here, I have the walls, and the floor is another object. The floor is this guy, and this is my ceiling. So luckily, after extruding, the top part is still selected, so I can make a distinction between the ceiling and the wall pieces by pressing UP and delete. What I got now is two objects. This one is the ceiling, and this guy is the walls. And this is the floor. And the only thing we disable now is the origin, like the original grid, in case I still need it, but I don't think so. So the floor can be kept like this. If I want to disable the walls and the ceiling because they are in the way, I can just stroke over both objects, like not releasing the left mouse button, but just here now, and do this again, another stroke, and they are disabled. So the floor is pretty much gonna stay the way it is. If I wanted to get rid of all the unnecessary detail, I can just select all polygons using Command A, and then I press UZ, so it's just keeping the edges. And I always check using the point mode whether there are any points left over. But the function I just used, namely UZ, deleted those points for me. So this is okay. Let's disable the floor and activate the walls. Here you can see that there are points left over. by extruding, and the quickest way of getting rid of them is a function called optimize. You can get there by pressing UO, and it's what this function does is we can look into the function if you press U Shift O. What it does is it's checking whether there are double polygons, whether there are unused points floating around, and it checks for points within that tolerance if they are lying on top of each other or at least very close to each other. But I already did UO without calling up this window, so anything's fine now. And now let's check the ceiling, and you can see there are no spare points, and I already have the grid that's so valuable for what I have in my mind. But first of all, let's have a look at the walls and my image again. I have the windows and they are not like down to the floor, but there is some space in between, and there even is some space for a heating system in front of my windows. So what I will do is I will just select these polygons here and only cut them up because like the back wall, for example, is still intact. You can tell by the cuts here that I didn't keep that in mind before. So it's basically up to us what we do, but we can cut them all up. But the thing that's more important is the orientation of the polygons. You can tell by the blue color that they are pointing outwards, but our camera is inwards, and so we should just switch the polygons using UR. So make sure all our objects are pointing in the right direction, so the ceiling should be pointing downwards, UR, and the floor is alright. So how to cut up the walls quickly? You just go to edge mode, press UB, click in there, and the next thing you use is MF. So cutting through these in a regular manner is just done by holding down your left mouse button, and this is the opening for the windows later on. I could control it here with %, like where they are placed exactly, and I could even change the scale right here, but this is too imprecise because I want to work with proper units. So I just keep it the way it is, doesn't matter. And I grab the loop cuts I created here one by one, going to edge mode if I'm not in it anymore, clicking with UL for loop selection on this bottom part here, and I check the coordinates here. At the moment I'm in object mode, but I can switch to world mode, which will be the same because the axis of my object is on the floor. But just to make sure, I keep it at world now, and the bottom line I just selected is at 80. So if you wanted to just for a test, we can put it up to 90. And you can use the other guy or select the other guy using UL and put it right, maybe to 2 meters. If I wanted to lower this, I could even say like 60, but this appears a bit low to me, maybe 70. Let's have a look. And yeah, maybe 90 wasn't too bad, or yeah, 85. So the next step is to you know what, it might have been better to just cut